And that's good. It was good. It was fun. Everything sounds good. Check, check, check. All right. That's cool. Okay. We'll start with our intro thingy. God, it's so much louder than it needs to be. Hello and welcome to the Oregon Motivation Center. I am Blaine. I'm a certified hypnotherapist and mindset coach, and today we're going to explore relaxing hypnotic experiences to help you refocus and reset your mind. Disclaimer: this is for relaxation, self-improvement, and educational purposes only. It is not medical advice and not a substitute for therapy, diagnosis, or treatment. Do not participate while driving or operating machinery. By choosing to take part, you acknowledge that you are responsible for your own well-being and participation. If you have any medical or psychological concerns, please consult a licensed healthcare professional. Participation in this session implies your consent to relaxation and positive visualization techniques. Hypnosis is not magic or some sort of spell. If you do not choose to participate, it will not have an effect on you, at least no more than a normal conversation. Direct your mind, set your intentions, and reach your goals with the Oregon Motivation Center. Take a deep breath, get comfortable, and let's begin our journey. Alright, so what is hypnosis? I know that's what you're wondering and what you're curious about, and let me tell you what it is. So where did my conversation thing go? That's odd. Hypnosis is a specific form of meditation. The mind exists in 4 basic states. Let's get some information about that for you. We have the beta frequency. It's from 13 to 30 hertz. This is fully awake, alert, analytical, thinking, problem solving, and active focus. Higher beta is linked to stress or anxiety. This is normal. This is your normal waking consciousness. In hypnosis, we aim to quiet this to reduce overanalysis and resistance. Alpha state is 8 to 12 hertz. It's relaxed, calm, reflective, daydreaming, light meditation. It's a light trance, early stages of hypnosis, and it's a doorway to deeper absorption. And then you have theta, deep relaxation, vivid imagery, creativity, memory integration, and the hypnagogic dreamlike state between waking and sleep. This is the area I shoot for hypnotic work. It is great for guided imagery. It makes it feel much more real, and it makes it easier to practice the new behaviors and emotions and beliefs. And there is delta 0.5 to 3 hertz. This is deep relaxation. This is sleep. It is possible to do some work in that state, but it's much, much harder because the brain is just so calmed and relaxed. Okay. We often treat what we imagine as pretend. But the nervous system doesn't see it that way. For instance, when you imagine biting into a lemon, your mouth salivates or reacts to the sourness of a lemon. When you picture a loved one in danger, your heart races. The body responds to imagery with genuine physiological changes. And in hypnosis, this response becomes the bridge between symbolic experience and physical outcome. This is why hypnotic experiences can be so profound. When guided skillfully, the mind rehearses new behaviors and emotional responses with such richness that they begin to unfold naturally in waking life. In essence, the theta state becomes a laboratory for transformation. Our mind isn't a single solid object, it's an environment, an ecosystem of focus, memory, emotions, and body. Each state of consciousness highlights a different layer of that environment. The beta state lets us interact with the external world. Theta opens the door to the internal world. Both are vital. We spend most of our lives in beta because survival depends on it. But deep change requires us to visit the quieter floors where insight and healing live. As you explore hypnosis, you learn not only to visit these layers, but to navigate between them deliberately. You discover that your attention is a tool and not a cage, and that imagination is not childish fantasy, but the mechanism of transformation. Exiting from hypnosis is very easy. It's just waking up, essentially, opening your eyes, reorienting to the room, and you cannot be trapped in hypnosis. If anyone tries to trick you, you'll kick out of it immediately because you are still aware and conscious. You don't go unconscious during hypnosis. And it's certainly not mind control. It's just a form of meditation. So there is the conscious mind and there's the non-conscious mind. The non-conscious mind is just all the parts of your mind that you are not in control of or necessarily aware of. An example of a memory that you have that you're not aware of is something that happened to you yesterday. Like a lot of times people will say, what did you have for lunch yesterday? And until you think about it, it is a non-conscious information, and then you can consciously access it and bring it into your conscious mind. And there are things that are completely non-conscious, like your heart beating. You can't, without doing something like running, you can't shift your heartbeat to going faster or slower. That is a non-conscious process. When we work hypnotically, we communicate directly with the non-conscious processes. We aren't commanding them, we're inviting them into dialogue. They hold the automatic patterns that shape our lives. And by entering a theta state, we create a space where those patterns can be renegotiated more easily. Stage hypnosis, those suggestions are designed for amusement. The people that go up there have already agreed to be a part of the show, and the suggestions they receive fade as soon as the lights come up and they leave the stage. True hypnotic transformation is far deeper. It's a process of collaboration, trust, and meaning, not mere instruction. And for genuine shifts that we go for, shifts that endure, the non-conscious mind must be fully assured that the shift is safe, beneficial, and free from unseen harm. And how long the suggestions, how long this hypnosis lasts, is more dependent on just how your life is, what kind of life you're leading, how busy you are. But the hypnosis will either last your whole life or not, just like everything else. You get a quieter mouse, I think. All right, so one of the techniques I like to do with people, I call it the Museum of the Mind. In this, so you have the induction, you're in the relaxed trance state, and while you're in that state, what we do is we have you imagine yourself going to a museum of your mind. And your non-conscious parts of you are what generates this museum. If you remember dreams that you've had in the past, you don't create the things that you go into generally unless you're in a lucid dream. And the same mechanism that creates those elaborate dreams you have is the one that creates this museum for you. And there's several factors to it. The first thing we go to is the entry hall of the museum. So you'd walk in and orient yourself to what your non-conscious mind is showing you is the museum of your mind. This can vary wildly for people. Everyone is unique. And from that, I identify people first to the gallery of their life. And whatever they came for help with, we'll explore a piece of art that represents that difficulty. And for each individual and each situation, this will be completely unique and individualized to them specifically. Whether it's an art sculpture or a painting or some other piece of abstract art, it's impossible to know until you're there. And you can make changes to those art that reflects your life in external reality. The internal reality experience allows you to practice having those new beliefs, emotions, or behaviors in a situation that's lifelike enough that you get actual neural connections from it. After the gallery and checking that out, I will go to the vault of the mind. Inside there you have a bunch of stored beliefs or ideas or thoughts that you're holding on to very tightly. In this place you can explore those and find out more about them, maybe replace them or modify them. I know it sounds like the gallery, but it's a different way of looking at it. A lot of these are just different ways of looking at the same kind of idea. So between these 5 different ways of viewing the idea and the change and the future that you want to have, one of them will definitely help make sure that you get the change you're looking for. There is the next one I like to call the timeline wing. This is a place where memory and imagination meet to form the narrative of the self. Here we can observe how events connect, how emotions weave through time, and how the story can be edited to support who we are becoming. So, for example, I might say, as you stand in this corridor, notice that one direction represents the moments that you've already lived. and the other represents the moments that are still unfolding. Oh, it's the other way around. Knowing that, and the other direction represents moments still unfolding. And you may move along this path freely, knowing that every step connects you more deeply with your own continuity. This visualization anchors in the understanding that all times are accessible as experiences with the same living consciousness. Then we might do an exercise called the two-branch exercise. Because one of the most powerful techniques in the wing is dual timeline processing, the practice of exploring both what happened and what could have happened. So you go to the timeline wing and you locate the event. Ask the mind to reveal a moment relevant to the current goal, perhaps a time of fear, doubt, or missed opportunity. The hypnotee may see it as a scene in the corridor or a door that opens into a memory. But at first, just have them observe without entering. You stand at a distance, viewing the event like an exhibit. In this way, you maintain safety and clarity. And at first, you'll notice branch 1, the original path. You'll observe how events unfolded, noting emotions, choices, and outcomes. Acknowledge what was learned, even if painful. And they can also see branch 2, the adaptive path. You can invite the mind to generate an alternative version, a parallel branch where wisdom, resources, or compassion were present. You can imagine the same situation unfolding now. But the time you have the understanding and calm you possess today, but this time you have the understanding and calm you possess today. I want you to notice how differently these things play out. So then you'll watch as the timelines begin to integrate, weaving together into a new narrative that honors both experience and possibility. This exercise doesn't rewrite history. It allows your brain to learn a different emotional reaction to the same situation. And then you can leave the timeline wing and you can go to, another corridor opens up into light, the air feels charged and alive, like saying at the edge of dawn. And then you're in a new space, the Hall of Prospect. In this place you see future moments that have not happened yet. And in these future moments, you can see new events that will happen in your future, or you can imagine what it would be like if you'd had those events. So if you had a bad public speaking event at one time and it's really embarrassing, but then you go back in the timeline wing and you relive that experience and you have a really positive experience. This one is going into a future moment that you imagine and have a good experience there, having the experience you wanted to have originally, which is probably the wrong word for it, but having the experience you wanted to have in the first place, but in a new situation, in a new context. And remember, because you're in that dreamlike state, you have more control over your emotional state inside the experience, so you can control yourself having those experiences and dictate all the parts of it. Just as an athlete visualizes perfect form, or a musician hears the symphony before touching an instrument, you can pre-live new versions of yourself until your body and mind treat them as much a memory as an imagined situation. And in this way, you're stepping into your future self. From the entry hall or the timeline, the hypnotist may have said something like, ahead of you is a space that represents the future, place where the changes you seek are already integrated. When you're ready, step forward and allow yourself to meet the version of you who has already lived this way. And in this way, you can have a conversation with a version of you that has had the experiences that you need to be the person that you want to be. And with your non-conscious mind helping guide that experience, it can even give you answers. The non-conscious mind does not always answer with words and language like we would. A lot of times it is symbolic and metaphorical, and you have to kind of sift through it to understand what the real meaning is. This is rehearsing reality. And the last one I like to do is the butterfly wing and the cube. So you move to this other room. And at first it may seem empty, maybe a soft glow and the whispering of wings. And then the color begins to move through the air, iridescent, alive, suspended between stillness and flight. This is the butterfly wing. If the entry hall is a threshold, the gallery of life is the reflection, the vault is the depth, the perspective hall, the creation, the timeline, your past, present, and possible future. And the butterfly wing is the integration. It's where changes take form, visible, tangible, complete. Across cultures, butterflies represent metamorphosis, the miracle of change achieved through surrender. The caterpillar does not learn to fly. It dissolves and reforms. In hypnosis, this image captures the essence of deep transformation, when the mind releases old identity and new possibility emerges naturally. Inside the butterfly wing, the non-conscious mind expresses the process symbolically. When you do this, they may see butterflies or other luminous patterns or hear a hum like quiet energy. Whatever form it takes, it conveys the same message. Change is happening and the change is safe. Here the mind integrates all the insights from the previous areas. The gallery of life, the vault, the timeline, wooing the prospective hall. And now these separate learnings weave together into a single embodied sense of renewal. And the hypnotist may say something like, you don't need to do anything now. Just allow your mind to unfold like the wings drying in the light as a butterfly stretches them for the first time. Everything you have experienced is settling naturally into place. This suggestion allows the non-conscious to consolidate. The individual may feel warmth, tingling, or a sense of gentle comfort as a physical sign that changing has occurred. Every transformation contains a moment of stillness, like the chrysalis between caterpillar and butterfly. In hypnosis, the stillness is the moment of acceptance, the realization that change has already begun, even before it is visible. A hypnotist may guide by saying things like, notice the calm between breaths, the pause where the old dissolves and the new takes shape. You don't have to force anything here, just be with the unfolding. This state teaches the nervous system a new relationship to change. And there is the cube. So some respond well to the butterfly transformation and others do not. This is not any sort of indicator other than their preference or comfort. For those that do not, you can try out the cube. As the butterfly wing fills with calm awareness, a new symbol appears, a simple geometric shape, the container of peace. The cube represents stability within transformation. Where the butterflies symbolize motion and freedom, the cube symbolizes structure and grounding. Together, they complete the paradox of hypnosis, fluid change held in stable awareness. The cube is not confinement. It is a safe boundary that allows energy to circulate without scattering. These are the things you want to say. In practical terms, it becomes the anchor for the hypnotic experience. A portable form of peace that can be carried into daily life, metaphorically speaking. The cube can be large or small, transparent or luminous, solid or crystalline. The person's mind chooses its attributes intuitively. Whatever form it takes, it becomes a symbolic repository of their progress, a mental artifact that stores calm, focus, and confidence. So, imagine that all that peace, clarity, understanding from a session begins to gather into form, perhaps as light, perhaps as color, condensing gently into shapes itself. Condensing gently until it shapes itself into a perfect cube before you. This cube contains everything beneficial from today's experience. You can hold it, keep it near, or imagine it resting in your heart. After the session, you can recall the cube at any time by visualizing it, imagining touching its surface, or picturing it glowing. You can instantly reconnect with the emotional state cultivated in this session. So that is essentially how the cube works also. And those are the different stages of the Museum of the Mind. Thank you for joining me on this adventure. If you have more questions, feel free to reach out to the Oregon Motivation Center at the email address, oregonmotivationcenter@gmail.com, or visit the website. Yeah. See you next time.